Hey, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. So today we have a good looking puzzle here. There's not a ton. We do have a given digit, which is fun, but we don't have a ton of necessarily in puzzle clues. We do have, of course, these outside clues. But anyway, I'm babbling already, and I just started this video. This is called Wholesome by Oddlyeven, and let's look at these rule sets and see what it is exactly we're trying to figure out here. Because I saw down in some of the lower recesses here of this rule set where there's some rules that I've not particularly heard of before. So let's look at these and try to figure this out. So we have normal Sudoku rules apply. So every row, every column, and every 3x3 box contains the digits 1 through 9 once each. Clues outside the grid are both X sums and Russian doll sums. Now I'll need to be refreshed on what X sums are, and I don't think I've heard of Russian doll sums. So X sums, a clue outside the grid gives the sum of the first X digits from that direction. Okay, we're at X is the digit next to the clue. Okay, I got that back now. Couldn't recall if that was what this specifically was. So essentially what that means is this 17 clue, whatever this digit is, let's say it was a 4, it would mean that the first 4 digits would be what add up to that 17. And that would go for all of them, whether they be rows or columns. Now, Russian doll sums, a clue N outside the grid indicates that in that row or column, there exists 2 digits that sum to N such that the sum of the digits between them is also N. That's interesting. So I guess what that's saying is if we know that this 10 clue, we would have indicates that in that row column there's just 2 digits that sum to N. So let's say we find out that the 2 and the 8 or something like that would be wherever they happen to be would equal the 10. Then the digits 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 would also have to add up to 10, I think is what that's saying. Because the digits between the 2 and the 8, which equals the 10, are therefore the ones used for the Russian doll sums. That's an interesting concept that I've not heard of before, and I don't know how easily I'm going to be able to figure that out, but we'll give it a try. Now, the other rule that we have here is the dot, which is a black Kropki dot. So digits on the black dot are in a 1-to-2 ratio. So these 2 digits, one of them is double the other one. That's our rule sets. Now let's jump into this one. And of course, there's a link in the description below if you guys want to play along. Let's see if we can jump into this one and try to figure it out. There's going to be some head scratching, I guarantee you that. At least on my part. So how do we figure this thing out? Well, I guess what we'll try to look at is maybe we'll start with the X sum situation. Because there's going to be digits that are fairly the lower digits are usually the better ways to start with an X sum, I think. Is where we can make an estimation of what that first digit must be by what are the possibilities of creating the value that's outside of the grid. So in this 7 case here, and it's going to go for all of these in this very first thing I say, but you can never put a 1 here. Because if this is a 1, the 1 is the only digit you can use for this X sum. So therefore, this would have to be a 1 clue. So this would have to at least be a 2, so you could have 2 digits that add together to equal 7. Now, if you think about the next step up, would be 3, and 3 would be the absolute maximum you could do for a 7. Because if you had 3 digits added together, those 3 digits combined would have to equal 7. You can't ever have 4 digits together that equal 7. It just doesn't work in a normal Sudoku situation, and these will all be in the same rows or columns because that's how the rule sets are, or the clues are set up. Now, thinking about that even further, this can't actually be a 3. Because if this was a 3, we'd have 3 digits equals 7. We know that 3 is not a digit that can be put in a 3 cell 7. So this actually just has to be 2, which means this has to be 5. Now, how is the Russian doll situation going to help us here? Such that the sum of the digits between them is also n. So it's going to have to be, so we have to think about it. There's going to be 2 digits that are going to add to 7, where the digits in between them also add to 7. So like 2, 5 would be that situation. Because 3 and 4 would be between 2 and 5, and 3 plus 4 equals 7. But how do I use that information? There's 2 digits that sum to n, such that the sum of digits between them is also n. I guess in this low case, it doesn't really provide any information. It's just that I'm trying to read this over again just to make sure I'm completely understanding it. Yeah, so I'm not really quite sure how that Russian doll sum actually works. If I were to look at 17, there must be a situation where there are 2 digits that sum to n, but the digits between them is also n. But the only way to ever have 2 digits that sum to 17 is 9 and 8. And there's nothing in between 9 and 8. So this is where I'm getting confused. So I must be not understanding this rule set properly. So let's take a look at this and see what I'm not understanding. A clue, which is n, which is outside the grid, indicates in that row or column there exist 2 digits that sum to n, such that the sum of the digits between them is also n. The only way I can see that would even make sense is if this was, let's say the 9 was here and the 8 was down here, and then when they're talking about the sum of the digits between them, we're talking about physically between them, those 2 placed digits. But then this 2, 5 situation, well, okay, maybe that's where I'm thinking wrong. I think that's what's confusing me. This doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the Russian doll sum. So we can have a situation where we have but that doesn't, we can have a situation where we have a 1 and a 6, something like that. And then the 2 digits between them would be a 3 and a 4, and that would allow us to equal 7. Okay. The wording on this might have been a little bit clearer, or I'm just not, I didn't pick it up as quickly, maybe. So let me read it again just to make sure I'm not being dumber than usual. 2 digits that sum to n, such that the sum of the digits between them is also n. Okay, no, once I understand it, the wording does make sense. It just confused me out of the gate. Okay, so let's move on here for a second then. This 9 is the other one I was going to look at, and maybe once we get a little further on, these Russian doll sums are going to start to come into place, but I don't see how they can at the moment, because it feels like I can put a 1 and a 6 just about anywhere within this row, because we can't do 2, 5. We could also have a 3, 4 technically, and then, excuse me, and then the in-betweens would be the 1, 6s, something like that. But let's look at this 9. Again, this can't be a 1. It could be a 2 or a 3. And again, it can't be a 4 because we can't have 4 digits add together to equal 9. Now, if it was a 2, it would be 2, 7. If it was a 3, it could be a couple of different things. It could be 3, 2, 4, or 3, 5, 1, something like that. Okay. This guy, 2, 3, or 4 are possible. Could be 2, 2, 8, could be a 3, some multiple different versions I'm sure that occur there. And if this was a 4, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4 would be the thing. So 1, 2, 3, 4 equals 10. Okay. All right. Let's continue with this direction at the moment because I'm not getting anything else, at least not coming to me right now that would be working for these. The 11 would be the next case. Again, it would be 2, 3, and 4 possible. Yeah, 4 would work, right? No, 4 wouldn't work on an 11, will it? Because the only way to make an 11 in 4 different digits would be 1, 2, 3, 5. So this cannot be a 4, so it's a 2 or a 3 as well. The problem is, I think we're going to start getting to a point now up in here where there's getting to be too many options. Again, this can't be 1. It could be a 2. Well, it can't be 2, sorry. Well, maybe because these are much higher than these, there's less option on the low end. This could be 3, it could be 4. Can it be 5? Yes, it could, because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 does equal 15. Let's continue on and see what comes out of all this. Again, it can't be 1, it can't be 2, it could be 3, 4, or 5. Again, it can't go up to 6, because if it was 6, the bare minimum you get to is 21. And the same is going to be true here as well. It has to be from 3, 4, or 5. So we end up with a 3, 4, 5 triple, which is going to give us a 2 here. And that's actually going to start breaking this up a little bit. Okay, so I just needed to continue on with the basics of this before I start to see what was going on. So if this is a 2, this has to be an 8. If this is a 3, we do still have those couple of options we said. We have to have a remainder of 6, so it can either be 1, 5, or 2, 4 still left over. Now, there's going to have to be some way that we can use this Russian doll sum, because we have to have some set of 2 digits that can equal up to 10. We can also have the digits between them equal up to 10. Can we reduce then the crusts? It's not a crust really, it's a X-sum type of thing. I was thinking of something else for some reason. We can kind of call them, it's almost like a sandwich clue, I guess. So that kind of does sort of work in terminology, because we're going to have 2 digits that are the end points. And then what's in between them is kind of the sandwichy type of thing. But I don't quite know. I mean, there's still multiple options as to what this could be. Now we know that a 5 couldn't ever be, well, no, because it's not asking you to use the crust pieces in any way. It's asking, no, but it is, because you have to also, it's taken me a second. Hold on, because the end, there has to be 2 digits that equal to that outside clue. So we can't have the crusts of this thing be 5s, because it would have to be 2 5s that equal 10, and then the 3 digits that are in between them would all, or 3 or 4 or whatever it is, digits in between them would also equal 10. Okay. So what else? Well, this can't be 5, so let's get rid of that. This is now either 3 or 4. Is there anything we can do there? Because if it's 3, essentially, we're taking the 3 out of it. We're taking it off here, so the next 2 digits have to equal 14. And it can't be 9, 5, because we already have a 5 here. But it could be 8, 6. So is it possible this, yeah, it could be, absolutely. This could be a 3 and these could be 8, 6. If it was a 4, we'd have 13 left in 3 digits, and I think there's probably multiple ways we can make that occur. Okay. I wonder what this 7 is doing here. I don't quite know. This is a 5. These have to be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. There's nothing that we have yet that in any way will remove that possibility. So we know one of these is a 5, which means it definitely can't be part of our crust, as we say. But not quite sure how to use that. Is there anything we can do with this 11? It's the only other clue in here that seems like it has much of a use. If this is a 2, this has to be a 9. This is a 3. These 2 digits must add up to 8. And there are many ways, well, not many, but because we have the 3 already, these would have to equal 8. They could be 7, 1, or 5, 3, because they couldn't, or sorry, 6, 2, because they couldn't be 5, 3. But yeah, there's nothing really there that's helping, is there? If this was a 6, that would create a Russian doll situation. But then these could never add up to that 9. I'm guessing there could also be, I mean, could it be possible that there are multiple, well, there's going to have to be multiple situations where you have 2 digits that are adding up to that 9, but the way that it's going to differentiate which ones are actually the Russian doll sums is going to be that there's not going to be space in between them to correctly create that digit, that sum, I should say. So you're always going to have a 3 and a 6 somewhere in here. You're always going to have a 7 and a 2, etc., etc. But where they actually end up in their positions will then determine if they could satisfy the Russian doll rule set. Okay. All right, so we're back at square one, it seems. And I'm not quite sure how to proceed. Because I don't think we can remove this as being a 5. Well, the 17 clue is the other one I was thinking about. But again, I'm not quite sure how we can use it. But let's stay with what I was starting to think on. I don't think it's going to go anywhere, but if this is a 5, it includes all of these. And to make a 16, that doesn't ever work. Because just like this, we determined on, what other one was it? I can't even remember. But if this was a 5, you couldn't ever make 16 in 5 cells, because the only way to make 16 in 5 cells is to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. So this is not 5. Okay. There's something. That's a 3/4, which means this is 5. Okay, we're very, very slowly working this out, which means these have to be from 1, 2, 3, and 4. Because the only way to make 15 in 5 cells is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is not 2. Now, how do you make this 15 work as a Russian sum doll? It's either going to have to be 9, 6 that are working as, let's say, our crust, as we've been saying, or 8, 7. Either way, we're going to have to put them here, aren't we? Because we said the only possible options are 9, 6, and 8, 7. Well, we've used up all of the digits 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 here, so none of those can, and we can't have, you know, the Russian dolls be right next to each other. We can't have them be one apart from each other because we can't ever put a 15 in between them. So let's mark these. I'll put them as red for Russia, and we're going to know that then that these two digits, when combined, must equal that 15. So we know that these digits essentially is that these are 6, 7, 8, 9. It's either going to be that this is a 9, 6 pair, and these are 8 and 7, or this is an 8, 7 pair, and these are 9, 6. Okay. Now it doesn't say anything about whether the X sums or the Russian doll sums have any kind of negative interaction between them in terms of rows or columns. Right? No, it does not. Okay. So I guess there's a possibility that they could overlap. Let's say, in theory, if there was another clue out here, that this could be the Russian doll sum crust as per se, and then there'd be another digit over here. So I guess that is possible. I don't think it comes into play, or needs to, but just a random thought for the day. Now, is there anything that we just did with this that therefore causes issues here? If this is 2, this is 9, and we force this to be a 9. This is 3. We determined what? That this would either be 1, 7 or 2, 6. And none of those seem to have overlapping issues. Okay, this is definitely working my brain. Can we reduce these in any other possible way? The other way to look at it would be, can either one of these be part of the Russian doll in this direction? Because if, let's say, this is, it means there has to be a 6 or a 7 somewhere over here so that we can have digits in between them that could equal up to 10. Same goes with this guy. But then again, we can't necessarily say which one is which until we start seeing more of the possibilities in here, I think. Or if these are even part of it, it could be, is it possible that one of these has to be? No, because we could have a 1 and a 9, possibly. No, we can't. That doesn't work either, does it? Forgive my ramblings. I'm practically talking to myself here. Well, I am talking to myself. You guys just hear it later on. We can't ever do a 1, 9 here as the Russian sums, or in any type of orientation. I'm just using this as an example. Because if we do so, we have to have a 5 in between it no matter what we do, no matter how you try to lay it out. And therefore, the next 2 digits, you can't have a 5, 5, so it must be a 3-cell digit. But if you already have 5 and you have to add up to 10, there's only 2 ways to do that, and you got to be able to make another 5, obviously, in 2 digits, which is either 1, 4 or 2, 3. Well, if you did either one of those, you're breaking this puzzle, because you can't use the 3, the 4, or the 2, and you've already used the 1 for the 1, 9. So one of these 2 must be part of this Russian doll sum. So I'm going to put a little flash on that so I don't forget that. Now, is there any way we can start further now analyzing that? Because again, maybe there is. Because we're gonna have the same kind of situation, aren't we, if we did this guy? Or is that true? Because no, if this is the, we always have 3 between whatever the two things are. Because we can't have 4. If we did 4, they'd have to be 1, 2, 3, and 4, and we already know that those are outside the limits. So it's always either here to go with this guy or here to go with this guy. So one of these two is also the other one. Now, if we look at this guy, if he was, let's say he's a 3, he's going to go with this as a 7. And then we have a 5 here. It would have to be another 2 digits that add together that equal 5. And again, we said we can't do that. Well, this here does actually change that situation, I think, because we're removing this other 3, 4 from the not being able to use section of this plate. And we're going to say if this is the 3 or 4, this one has to go with it. Whatever they are, if it's 3, 7 or 6, 4. Well, I guess we can rule out the 6, 4 option, but let's run with this for a second before we get to that. Let's say this is a 3, let's say this is a 6, 4. These 3 digits here would therefore add up to 10. We already have a 5, the other 2 digits have to be the other 5, so they would, if this was a 6, 4, these would have to be 3 and 2, but we can't do that. So what I think I'm saying is this is a 3, and this is a 7, which will leave in between 5, 4, and 1. And that does equal what we want to use. So I said this is 3, this is 7, we got a doot in the corner. This has to be 4, and we can get rid of our flashes so that we're not being confused again. Because we get confused a lot around here. This has to be 1. These are the 2 doll ends, or crusts, and they equal 10, and in between them equals 10. That was a lot of working out to figure that out. I'm glad I got to it at least at the end, but what do these clues have to be then? They have to be from 6 and 9. There's nothing quite there that's usable, I don't think. Okay, so we have something. Now, we also do have our 3s and our 4s figured out on these 16 and 17 clues, so can we do anything with that? We know that the 16, these two, it must be these 3 cells combined. So these 2 would have to add up to 13, because 16 minus 3 is 13. I know, amazing. So they have to add up to 13. They can't be 9, 4. They could be 8, 5, or 7, 6. This can't be 7, so this can't be 6. It's not quite that good, is it? No, I don't think so. How about this 4 here? So now all of these must combine to equal 17. Or these 3 must combine to equal 13. Is there anything there that we can say can't work? Because obviously we can't use a 4 and a 5 now to equal the rest of what this has to be as a 13. So there's going to at least be one highish digit, right? And then 2 of the lower digits. I think that's accurate. The thing is, though, are there too many options for what those could be? What are the options? Maybe you should just go through them, and it might show something. I'm sure you guys can do some of this stuff in your head. I can't. If this is a 9, let's say, we have a 9 on this 13 clue. We would then have to have a 1-3 pair to go with it. So we'd have 9, 10, 13, 17. Obviously, these can't be 1-3s. So there would be a 9 up here somewhere, and, well, that doesn't work. Yeah, so that never works. So you can't do 9, 1, 3, because you'd have to have a 9 plus a 1 or whatever, so no 9s. Okay, what if you had an 8? You would then have 5 left over. You'd have to either have 1, 4, which we can't do because there's already 4 here, or a 2, 3. These couldn't be 3s. This couldn't be a 2. This would be the 2, 8. This would just have to be the 3. Now, if we had the 8 here, that would leave a 7, 6 here, which would work. Okay, so that's an option. What if there was a 7 in this 13? Then we'd need 6 left over. It would have to be of the 5, 1 persuasion, because we can't do 4, 2. So that doesn't work. What if there was a 6? We'd have to have 7 left over. If we had a 6, we'd have to have 7 more. We obviously can't do 6, 1. We can't do 5, 2, and we can't do 4, 3. So that doesn't work either. That's weird how that all of those possibilities seem to have been removed. We can't do 5. Like I said, we have to at least have 1 high digit. So it has to be the 2, 8 with the 3. And if that's a 2, 8, this has to be 7, 6. That is quite interesting. I really hope that's accurate. It took me way too much time to try to work out those options. These have to be from 5 and 9. Only thing left. I think we're just going to have to work with that. Okay, so now let's continue. We know that we have to have a 9 and an 8 to add up to the 17 for our Russian doll sum. So we're using the 8 from here, and we have to put a 9 down here somewhere. And we still have to get up to 18, so this can't be 9, because if this was the 8 and this was the 9, this would equal 8. If this was the 8 and this is the 9, these would equal 10. So we have to have a 9 down in here somewhere. Now, I don't think we can go this far, because at the very least we'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different digits to get up to 17. I guess that is possible. Am I going to have to go through options here and see if that is? Don't know. What about the 16? If we know that there's a 9 down here, there has to be a 9 up in here somewhere. Because the only way to make 16 is 9 and 7. Okay, I think that's what it is then. Because we now can't put a 9 down here on this 16 clue. So we have to have a 9 in here. It has to go with this 7. So this is the other end of this 16. This one is the 10. This is going to be the 16 version. We can't put the 9 here because I only have 6 between us. So this must be our 9. This must be the ending. And these together must all equal 16. Well, these equal 8, so this has to be 8. All right, let's continue forward. So we got 1, 4, and 5 left over now in this column. There must be a 1 in this column, but it can't be down here anymore, so it must be here. These have to be from, what do we got? 6, 7, and 9. Now we can start looking at these guys. We know we have to have the 9 as part of our, or the 9 has to be one of the ends of the Russian doll. So if this was the 9, that would put 13, 14, 19, 22 as a bare minimum. That doesn't work. This can't be 9. What about this guy? We could do 6, 7, 10, 15, and 2, and that would work. And this would be the 8 up here. What about this guy being the 9? Again, we'd have 5, 8, 9, 10, 11. That doesn't work. So this has to be our 9. And we can get rid of some 9s over here, but I don't want to do that quite yet. Well, let's do this one. We know that can't be 9, so this therefore can't be a 2. So this is 3. I'm going to put that in there just because it's a quick get. And then we still have our options here of what these could be. Now, what did we say? This now is the foothold for our Russian doll looking upward. Going to have at least all of these digits, so that is 9 right here. Clearly we can't put a 7 here because then we'd have to have another 1 up here, so this is 6. So we've got 15, it has to have another 2 and an 8. So that 8 is up there, and it's our Russian doll, and this is a 7. Now this can't be 9, this can't be 7, this can't be 6. Well, this can't be 6 either. So this can't be a 2. All right, we're getting somewhere. It's moving slowly, but we're getting there. That's something. These 3 digits must be from 4, 6, and 7. And then these digits must be from 2, 3, and 8. Neither of these can be 3, so this is 3. Okay. I'm wondering if we're getting to anything on this row. We are. Where does a 9 go in this row? Well, it has to be in one of these two, so it can't ever be here. Let's just write this in. And we know that the 3 and the 6 now definitely are not our Russian doll for the 9, because they're way too far apart. So it's going to have to be either a 7-2 or a 5-4, but we haven't quite gotten there, have we? 1, 2, 4. No, we don't quite have any quads or quintuples or anything like that going on. Let's continue to remove our options, so these can't be those certain digits. I don't know that necessarily this is helping too much, but I'd rather get them out than leave them there. All right, where can we go from here? So we figured our 16, we figured our 17. Our 15 is done as well. The 10 is done. The 9 and the 11 are left over. Is there anything on this 11 we can use? We know this is either 362 or 317. We can't rule out either one of those, I don't think. Because if this was 1-7, this would be a 6-8 pair, this would be a 9. This would be a 7, which all seems to work. If this was a 6-2 pair, you would get 8, 7, 9, and then 6 here. Wait, what was the options that we had again? We have to be able to equal 15, so let's look at it that way. Maybe I just didn't see, because I thought something sounded funny there. If this is a 7-1 pair, this is a 6-8 in some way. This has to be 9. This has to be 7. And this would be 8. That would work. If this, on the other hand, was a 6-2, we're forced to make this an 8. This would therefore have to be 7, and that would break our 15, because it would have to be 8-7 this way, not 8-7 this way. So this cannot be 6-2. Oops. It has to be a 7-1, because that's the only thing that works. And if it's a 7-1, we just said we have a 6-8 pair. This is 9, this is 7, and the 7 has to go with the 8, so this is 8 and 6. That's not 7 anymore. And we can get rid of that guy. That 8 is going to give us our 2 and our 8, actually. All right. Is anything further now? 1, 2, 4, 5, and 7 are our options. So this has to be from 2, 4, or 5, because it can't be 1 or 7. In fact, this is the only place a 7 can go, isn't it? In this row. Because none of these can be. That one couldn't be, and this one can't be because of the 9. So yeah, this is 7 and 1. So that's not 1. All right, these 3 are 2, 4, and 5. This is not 2. Okay, it all seems to be adding up. Now, if this is a 2, 4, 5 pair, this just has to be a 3, 6 pair. Because in this black Kropki, we can no longer do 1, 2, 2, 4, or 4, 8. So that means this is not a 3. And what are these 3 actual digits turning out to be? We need to have a 1, 8, and 9. This is not 8. This is not 8. Excuse me. So this is 8. And then we've got a 1, 9 pair. I don't see anything breaking that just yet, so. All right, so there's some movement again. Now, is there anything we can go back and look at this 9 cage again, or the 9 rule, or 9 Russian doll sum? I'll get there eventually, people. That we can say this, we can figure out what the Russian doll ends are. We know it's not the 3, 6. Can it ever be an 8, 1? The answer again is no. So it must be a 7, 2 pair. But that doesn't work, so maybe I thought something wrong here. We need 2 digits that equal up to 9. 8, 1 can't work in this situation. 7, 2 doesn't work in this situation. And 6, 3, oh, 5, 4, I forgot about 5, 4. That's my salvation, okay. Whew. There has to be a 5, 4. Now, the only place 5, 4 can work is here and here. Because if this was one of the 5 or in the 4, the other one would have to be over here somewhere. Don't work. These two can't be 5s and 4s, so this has to be from the 5, 4 situation. Now, that puts a crust piece here, which means that we need to have at least 2 more digits, because we can't have this one be sandwiched between that, because it would just equal 7. So this has to be the other one to go with 7, which is a 2. And therefore, this is the other of the 4 or 5. What? Wrong buttons. I didn't mean to be on that setting. And we can just determine what those are, because we know that these 3 digits must add up to 9. It's 2, 3, 4. This is 4. This is 5. This is 1. And let's Russian doll that thing up. Okay. Are we done with our Russian dolls now? Let's just finish this, by the way. 4 and 2 and 5 and 4. I think that's... Oh, no, we still have this 7 here, which is going to have to come into place sometime, clearly. But I think everything... No, the 11 isn't done yet either. Okay, so we're not quite there yet, but we're getting close, I think. Which one do we want to look at? Or do you want to look a little bit further on our Sudoku just to see how things might work? Or if there's anything that's just glaring at us? One of these must be a 2. I don't feel like we're going to get anything on the Sudoku side here just yet, but I'm willing to give it a little bit of a look-see. Okay, one of these must be 3, but we kind of already knew that. Anything else? Not really on that front. 4s, not really. Right? Yeah, 5s. And we're going to be able to write in these 6 digits here. But again, they're kind of out of the way at the moment, and it's going to be more about the rest of this Russian sum stuff, I would think, instead. So we know one of these is a 7. We know something up here is a 7. We know one of these is a 7. That's not useful at all. 8s. I think we're going to run into the same problems. We know one of these is an 8, and one of these is an 8, but again, garbage, essentially. I say that. It's garbage, but it doesn't really add up to much, at least at this particular moment. So no, I don't think I'm going to write these in either at the moment, because it doesn't look like there's anything there that's going to get to us. So let's figure out what this 7 or this 11 is. Now, will the 11 be more useful? I don't quite know. Now, if the 3 was part of our Russian doll, it would be paired with an 8, and it would have to be this 8. And these would be equal to 8 already, so we'd have to have another 3, which we cannot do because the 3 is the part of the crust. So we cannot use this 3. Obviously, we can't use a 1. So we have the options of a 2, 9, a 7, 4, which I guess could be almost anything, and a 6, 5. But one of these has to be a 6. I don't think that I can determine anything by that. Now the 7, we know it's not the 2, 5. It could be a 6, 1 in some form, which could go many places, it seems. Or it could be the 3, 4. Again, I don't see how we can use those, either one of those, to do anything. So there must be something with there that if we got the right look, it'll tell us what's what. All right, let's look further in maybe one of these two regions, because there seems like there's a bit fairly well determined already. What am I looking for? There must be a 5 in one of these. Okay, so the 5, 6 was an option we had on the table. Can we rule anything out with it? If this was a 5 and this was a 6, we would just need 3 digits to equal 11. Two, 4, 7 wouldn't work. 4, 5, 6 wouldn't work. 2, 5. Well, if this is a 5, it forces this to be 8. Let's look at it that way. If this is if it's the Russian doll, if this is a 5, it forces this to have an 8. And then we'd have to have either a 3 or a 1, 2. And we can't do that because they're both taken. So in the case of 5, 6, this could never be part of the Russian doll. Can this ever be part of the Russian doll? It would force this to be the 6. And then these 2 digits would have to equal to 11. What are the options? I don't think we have any options left. Because again, we can't do, or can we do 9, 2? In this case, we could do 9, 2, couldn't we? But we couldn't do 8, 3, 7, 4, or another 6, 5. So if the 5 and the 6 is our Russian doll, it is 5 here, 6 here, and these are a 9, 2. With this being the 2 and this being the 9. Is there any other way to debunk that? Maybe we need to look at the other varieties. Again, I think we said the 3, 8 doesn't ever work. The 9, 2. There's just so many possible places for the 9 and the 2 to go. But this couldn't be a 9. Huh. There must be a way to determine this. Because then, if we were to do a 9, 2, the 9 could be anything here. The 2 would have a couple of only a couple of options. It would be here or here. So 9, 2 here would be an option. In which case, we can't do anything because we don't have a 7, 4 to put in here. We don't have an 8, 3 to put in here. And we don't have a 6, 5 to put in here. So that doesn't ever work. Okay, what else is there? If this was the 9, it would force the 2 here. That doesn't work. If this is the 9, it could force a 2 here. And it would put a 5 on here, because this would have to be a 5. This would have to be a 6, but it can't be because the 6 is up here. Now, if this was a 9, it would put a 2 down here again, because we can't put one here, we can't put one here, and this is too close. So if this is a 9, 2, again, we have a 5 here. We have 3 digits that have to equal up to 11. So we'd have the 5. We'd have to have 3 more digits, or 2 more digits equals 6. We can't do 5, 1, and we can't do 4, 2, because we've just used the 4. The only other option for 9, 2 is this is a 9. Now this, I don't think, can ever end up being a 2, no. Because you'd have to be able to put 1, 2, 3, 5 in between it, and that don't work. So the option would be this would be 9 and this would be 2. Then these 2 digits here would have to equal 11 in some way. We can't do the 8, 3. We can't do the 7, 4. And we can't do a 6, 5, so it never works. So it can never be a 9, 2. That's really, I mean, it's having to go through every single possibility there, but it does appear that 9, 2 doesn't ever work. So if 9, 2 doesn't work, 8, 3 doesn't work, and did we determine 8, 3 didn't work? We did determine 8, 3 didn't work. Was there a reason the 7, 4 didn't work? And I've got to go back and think about that again. So our options, I'm going to write this down real quick. Our options at the moment are 7, 4, and 5, 6. 7, 4. The 7 would have to be here. And there would have to be a 4 somewhere out in here land. Which means the 8 would be encompassed within it. And then that doesn't work, because if it's a 2-digit 8, it's 8, 3, can't be 8, 3. If it's a 3-digit with an 8, it would have to be 8, 1, 2. And again, that didn't work, so it was not the 7, 4, so it is 5, 6. And now I have to remember again the only way that the 5, 6 worked. This guy, if it was a 5, it would force this to be an 8. This would have to be a 6. These would have to be, again, from a 1, 2 pair, which it cannot be. So this could not be the 5. Right, so this is 5. Let's mark it. And now we have to put a 6 up here. Let's put that, and let's mark it. And then these 2 digits have to equal 11. They cannot be 8, 3, they cannot be 7, 4, they cannot be 5, 6. So therefore they must be 9, 2, which gives us a 1. Get rid of the 1 here and the 2 here. We end up with a 3, 4 pair. That forces this to be 1, this to be 2, this to be 9. Wow, that was quite a journey to get to that. And I sure as heck hope to God that I did that correctly. This would be 9, this would be 2, this would be 5, this would be 9. Now we're going to have to figure out this 7 too, but let's finish what we can finish here before we can go there. Because my brain hurts a little bit right now. These have to be 4 and 8. And I don't think we can determine that. Oh boy, let's go back to our Sudoku real quick. Let's try to get something a little bit easier to focus on. I think we're probably done with 2s. Yeah, we can finish off our 2s. Let's put that in. How about 3s? Did we get any further with them just yet? No. Okay, 4s. Again, no. 5s. 6s. I don't think we're getting there with this one. 7s, 8s. I just want to make sure I don't miss something easy. And then 9 was the other. And yeah, there's nothing there. Okay. All right, we're gonna have to figure out this 7. Let's get it done. So we know that we do not have the 2-5 as the possibility. So it's either the 6-1 or it's the 4-3. If this is a 1, the 6 could very well go here, and this could be 4-3. That works. In fact, it would have to be that way. This would have to be a 4 if this is the 1-6 that does it. What if it was 4-3? If it was 4-3, it could be 4. No, this couldn't ever be 4. Because it would force this to be 3. So this could be 4. The 3 would have to be over here somewhere. Oh, maybe this is why the 7 is here. I was thinking about that. Because if this was a 4, you can't put a 3 here, you can't put a 3 here. Because you would force this to be a 7. What about if there's a 4 over here somewhere? If we ever put a 4 over here, you'd have to do it like 4-3 with a 7 in the middle. How does that break? Oh, sorry, I messed that up. Pushed the wrong button. This would end up being like this. This would be 6. This would be 8. And this couldn't exist. Because we'd have 4, 6, 7. So that doesn't work. So 4s, it cannot be the 4-3, so it has to be the 6-1, which means this is our 1. We can't go any further than 2 away, so we have to put our 6 here, and we have to create our 7 in between them. So let's mark these guys. This is 4, this is 3, this is 6, this is 8. That's 4. This is 7 and 6. Ooh, I think we might have gotten this thing. So these are 8 and 9, so this is 9 and 8. That puts an 8 here now. We can get rid of that. These have to be what, 5 and 7? Let's just put those in. These have to be from 1, 6, and 9. This is the 1. This is 6. This is 9. Text from friends, and I pushed my mic away. And I'm hoping it was still quite clear what I've been saying, even though it was a little further away from me. These have to be 3 and 5, right? So this is 5 and 3, which is going to finish our 7 and our 5. These guys have to be 1, 4, and 7. This can't be 1 or 7, it's 4. Therefore, this has to be 1 and 7 by Sudoku. These two, 3, 4, and what? 1. This can't be 1, so this is 1. This has to be 4 and 3 and 4. And these have to be from 3, 5, and 6, and I'll just write them in. Now this is 5. Looking at Sudoku, this has to be 3, this has to be 6. Hallelujah, we finished it. Whew, that thing took a heck of a lot of effort to get that thing solved. at least for me. You guys may have done much better than me. I would assume you probably have, because I think every time I look in the comments, you guys have lower times than I do. Well, most of the time, not always, but anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this one. I certainly did. It was very much a test of my ability to rationalize a lot of this information. But in the end, it does appear that we got the right solution. Now, you all can pick this apart and see if I messed up somewhere and made an incorrect determination that somehow got me to the correct solution. I hope I did not, but I don't think I'm going back to try to figure it out, because that hurt my brain to do. Anyway, it was a great puzzle nonetheless. It really made me have to work hard to figure it out, but that's not a bad thing whatsoever. I hope you all enjoyed this one as much as I did. Like, comment, subscribe like always. I appreciate everything you guys do, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.